Hello, everyone. Class is officially in session, so that can mean only one thing. It is time for another Arcadia Academia. It is I, your host this evening, Dr. Kevin. And with me, of course, is my cohorts, as always, Professor Tyler. Sir, how are we doing tonight?
Class is indeed in session. The subject of the day is video games.
Always.
Always.
Always. Oh, yeah, and Caroline's here, too.
Oh, jeez.
Well, I need a title. That's not fair.
I was going to say, give her something high-ranking at least. Come on.
Headmistress.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. We'll go with that. We'll go with that. That's fine. So Headmistress Caroline is here. How are we doing?
Whatever. I'm good. I'm all right.
How are we doing? Whatever.
Fine. I got my food, so I'm happy.
There you go.
Ask me about my day. I was going to don't ask.
Caroline's a little hangry, everybody, so just bear with her throughout this episode. We'll see how it goes. But
yeah, I'll get better.
But tonight we discuss one of my favorite games of all time. And one of Tyler and Caroline's least favorite games of all time.
Not least, but it's somewhere down there.
All right, but we'll get there.
View it as a favorite or favorite.
We'll get there. But that subject is Earthbound.
Yes, sir.
Or Mother 2.
Hashtag
if you want
Mother
to
2. Yeah.
Yep. Depends on what you want to do. And as always, we like to break it down into three major parts of this class. Part 1, the past. So we'll talk about some fun facts and the development history of this game. Part 2, the present, where this series stands today and in the gaming industry. And finally, part 3, the future, where we discuss where we think the game may be heading, if it in fact even has a future anymore, or reimagining, or whatever you want to say. But that's how we break it down. So before we get started, Tyler.
Yes.
Can you inform the class, if you will, the story of Earthbound?
Of course. Now, children, open up your books. Prepare to go to page 37, and I'm about to tell you a beautiful little story about Earthbound. Earthbound chronicles the adventures of Ness, a 13-year-old boy who journeys around the world, using his psychic powers to collect 8 melodies in order to save the future from an alien of pure evil, intending to sentence all of reality to the horror of eternal darkness. The story begins when Ness is awakened by a meteor that has plummeted to the earth near his home, whereupon he proceeds to investigate the crash site. When Ness gets to the crash site, he discovers a police roadblock and Pokey Minch, his very jerkish friend and neighbor, who tells him to go home. Later, Ness is woken up again by Pokey knocking on his door, demanding help to find his brother Picky. Great names, by the way. They find him near the meteor, sleeping behind a tree, and wake him up. The three encounter an insect from a meteor named Buzz, still good name, who informs Ness that he's from the future, where the Universal Comic Destroyer, and I don't know how to say this properly. If you guys want to help me out here, Gygus?
I always call it Gigius. That was just me.
I've always said Gygus.
Okay. Either way,
I'm going to say Gygus because
Gigus. Yep.
It sounds cooler. Gygus dominates the planet. He dominates the planet. So Buzz senses great potential in Ness and instructs him to embark on a journey to seek out and record the melodies of 8 sanctuaries, and uniting his own powers with the earth, and gaining the strength required to confront Gygus.
Giggity. Giggity.
Yeah.
Giggity. All right. Very well said, Tyler. So
thank you. It was well written.
It's expertly written. So to give a little history here, so I'm the old man of the crew. We talk about this all the time. I purchased this game when it came out. So it initially came out in North America. It was a game release for this SNES or Super Nintendo Entertainment System, not the SNES, Donnie. On August 27th, 1994 in Japan, and on June 1st, 1995 in North America. It was designed and directed by Mr. Itoi. And
awesome.
Yeah, phenomenal. So to give my history of the game before we get into some of the development and the fun facts, I initially discovered Earthbound in Nintendo Power back in the day, saw the articles for it, and I was like, man, this looks cool. This is different than anything else I've ever seen. It's an RPG, but it's definitely quirky. So I immediately was like, I need to follow this when it comes out. Now, keep in mind, there was no internet back then, so it wasn't like we were reading news sites. It's like you didn't really know a game came out unless somebody published about it, right, or you happened to be walking on Toys R Us and you saw it.
Right.
Well, Earthbound came in a big-ass box. So it wasn't your standard SNES box. It was a big one because it came with the player's guide.
Humongous manual.
Yeah, it was massive. And they included it in the box. So it was like, imagine it's a whole book-sized box.
Yeah.
One of the cool things that came with it, too, was they came with some trading cards of different characters you encounter in the game in different scenarios. And they were, in fact, scratch and sniff, guys.
Oh my gosh!
So,
man,
I miss the 90s.
Keep in mind
my childhood already.
Oh yeah, keep in mind one of the bosses that they did feature a card on was Master Belch.
Oh no!
And he was scratch and sniff.
So no,
yeah,
this like garbage pail kids.
Yes, exactly.
Trading cards type thing.
Exactly, that's exactly how it was. But it was just so cool, and it like if you followed the game playing through the player's guide, it straight up told you like, oh, when you're at this part, smell this card. It will give you an idea of what we were thinking of. So,
gosh,
it was very cool.
What kind of chemical would they have to employ on that particular card in order to get the right effect?
I don't know, but it did smell
the same kind of stuff that they are putting on the cartridges now to keep kids from licking their Switch.
Master Belch, if I recall, he smelled like a chili dog, kind of like it was a chili dog burp. If you can imagine that, that's what it smelled like.
Sonic-esque.
Yeah, exactly.
Smells like Sonic.
Well, the throwback, the cartoon with Steve Urkel voicing.
Okay.
Like chili dogs.
Yep, you're right.
So yeah, I purchased the game when it came out, and now this was in the days we complain about pricing in games nowadays. Sometimes we're like, oh, it's $60, whatever. We forget that Super Nintendo games were priced insane.
Carts were nuts.
Yes, yeah, and this one came with the player's guide, so it was even more. If I don't quote me on this, but if I recall, it cost it was either $89 or like $95 what I paid for this game as a teenager. So I was 95. I would have been getting ready to go into freshman year of high school when this game came out. So I had to save up, birthday money and all that kind of stuff because I didn't have a job yet, couldn't work. But this was a game I absolutely wanted. And I've beaten this game no less than at least 15 to 20 times, I'd say. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Why would you do that to yourself? Jeez, dude.
We'll get to that later. So do either of you, we'll start with Tyler first. Do you have any stories about the first time you played Earthbound? Did you play it back in the SNES days, or how did you first experience this game?
Starting with me, man. Okay. I'm going to be honest here. I haven't touched this game in my childhood days. I haven't played it until very recently. My first contact with Earthbound, in fact, was, Super Smash Brothers, where it's probably for a lot of people alongside Fire Emblem. So, I knew who Ness was to an extent. I knew what he could do. I didn't know his background story beyond the trophies I could look at in Melee. And beyond that, I had no idea who or what he was until, very recently.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. I think a lot of people had no clue when Smash Bros. Like, who is this guy? And he was one of the unlockable characters, if I recall, too.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't off right at the bat. So it was even worse that...
Yeah, it's like, what the heck is this?
Exactly. Kids are unlocking it and they're like, who is this? I wanted somebody I know. Like it was very weird. But yeah, just like Fire Emblem, there's a lot of times we were introduced to Fire Emblem characters, especially in the States, via Smash Bros. Before we ever saw them actually in a game here. So that was definitely a trend there. So Caroline, how about you? When was your first experience with Earthbound?
Yeah, that was actually how I like Fire Emblem and Earthbound series both got to me through Smash Brothers. So Ness, obviously through the first game, was the first time that I've ever seen or heard. I recall watching a gameplay in probably, I was in high school, and it was like a very early Let's Play. Nice. I have my Ness and Lucas somewhere. And I don't really recall where it was or when it was, but I didn't actually put my hands on playing it until I played it on a simulator. Probably late high school. And I didn't play it since. I never got it for Wii U Virtual Console until we just got our Super Nintendo Classics. So I've never actually had the actual controller experience with the game, aside from what I used as emulator. So that's my experience with it. I got in on it late. I I guess 95. I was 5 years old, 6 years old. So I mean, like that didn't appeal to me back then.
Right.
Exactly. And I didn't start getting Nintendo Power magazines until way late into the 90s. That's my history with it. Same with Fire Emblem. I didn't know about Fire Emblem until, you know, we got Melee with Marth and Roy, and now I'm a huge Fire Emblem fan.
Mm-hmm. It works in mysterious ways. So you guys are not in the minority here as far as Earthbound experience of people. I was very rare instance, and I'm not bragging. I'm not like trying to play the hipster gamer thing. Oh, I played Earthbound before Earthbound was cool. No, it just happened to be something I was into at the time.
Ironically enough, I want to point out that what you said was contradictory about the cool part. But you know, go ahead, keep going.
Fair enough. You gotta stop with the digs. You gotta stop. We'll get to you. We'll get to the fighting later.
I love you, Kevin.
I love you too. So despite being really successful in Japan, the North American version was released to a poor commercial response overall.
Mm-hmm.
Later, though, that's when people kind of appreciated it for its humorous depictions of American culture, pop culture references, and a parody of basically what RPG games were of that time. And has since kind of become the cult classic we saw, you know, is included in the SNES Classic, even though a majority of people who had an SNES back in the day never played Earthbound in the US. So it was a welcomed addition, but it did do well in Virtual Console. It was on the Wii, the Wii U, the Wii U, and the new 3DS. It was
I don't think it ever came to the Wii.
It did. I have it. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I thought it came to the Wii U late.
Nope. I bought all the games. Earthbound Zero came to the Wii U very late.
That's right. Okay. So, you're right.
Now, just a sideline. Earthbound Zero is technically the first game, correct?
Yes. So to not confuse people, we're really only going to focus on Earthbound and Mother 2.
Right, Mother.
But yes, it was known as Mother in Japan, and until it was re-released on the Wii U Virtual Console in the US, they dubbed it Earthbound Zero because they were kind of up against a wall there because of the naming convention. Right.
No one knew what Mother was from the States, technically, so they wanted to introduce it as a prequel versus the first game that never came out.
Exactly. So this game, to speak of the difference, how it's hugely popular in Japan, not so popular in the U.S. We all know the U.S. has a kind of iffy history with censorship during localization of games.
What? No.
Yeah, no. Earthbound was no exception.
No kidding.
Yeah. Apparently, anyone who plays games are too innocent or fragile to be introduced to things such as alcohol or drugstores.
Drugs.
Not drug dealers, just drugstores. We can't handle drugs. So any mention of the substance is swapped out with coffee. So there's no alcohol, there's no drugstores, it's coffee places.
Hey, you want to have this wild hallucination? Drink this magical coffee.
Exactly. The bar in Forside was changed into a cafe. So you have some.
I love the guy that's like, you kids shouldn't drink espresso. I mean, like they didn't even try.
No, they really didn't. And there were also references in the Japanese version to Coca-Cola, Star Wars, other things like that. They just took completely out of the US version.
Of the bands and stuff.
Yep, exactly. So they kind of tweaked things there. You can find pictures of the original art online to see that kind of stuff there too.
Right. And there's a town with a cult on it, a cult group in there that, in the original. Village. Yeah, they look just like, no offense, some awfully similar to a certain Ku Klux Klan. But, once they came over to the States, they wanted to make it look like they were wearing Santa hats or something by putting a little poop at the end of it.
Pom-pom at the end of it,
Yeah, real stylish.
They also, though, had HH on their foreheads, too.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It stood for happyism, but they thought the U.S. would think, like, Hail Hitler.
Yeah.
So they had to change it. Yeah. And also the city that they were in was Threek. It's known as Threed now, but it was Threek being 3K, KKK. Once again, another reference.
Oh no, I'm starting to understand a little bit more. Jeez.
Yeah, they took it all out and tried to dumb it down. So now, question for you guys: pop quiz. I'm gonna throw these in. This is new. Pop quiz.
Hands in the air.
There is a specific scene in this game that features Ness in his subconscious. So basically, a dream version.
Yep.
In the Japanese version, I guess we'll go Caroline. What was he doing in the dream version in Japan?
He was naked.
He's butt naked, except for his baseball hat.
Instead of wearing pajamas, he's naked.
Yep. Butt naked, wearing a baseball hat, and all his jiggly bits are for the world to see.
There's really nothing there.
There's nothing there right here.
I'll raise my hand faster next time, even if I don't know.
All right. So then we'll throw this next question to you then, Tyler. So we'll just direct it right to you.
Oh man, I have that one. I'm not sure now.
So Earthbound is also known for its amazing soundtrack, and there was so much music, original music, put into this game that initially the game was designed for an 8-bit cartridge, had to be upgraded to a 16-bit, and eventually up to a 24-bit for storage, simply because of the soundtrack. Now, because Japanese likes to imitate things in America, can you name 3? There's more than that, so I'll give you just 3 musical artists that they kind of sampled music from and didn't really credit.
Oh crap! I'm trying to remember. I could only name one. That's only a potential thing. So I'm gonna say no. I don't. Carol, do you know?
What's your one? What's your one? Wait, go. What's the one you know? Or you
I think there was a lot of sample tracks that was pulled more for Sonic games, but Michael Jackson had a lot of songs that got misaccredited after being revamped for Sonic specifically. But when you said it like that, I was starting to think Earthbound a little bit, but I really don't think that's the case. So
nope, it's not Michael Jackson. Not Michael Jackson. So go ahead, Caroline. You got any?
All right, the Beatles were the biggest influence.
Yes.
We have like Good Morning, Strawberry Fields Forever, and I think Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band is like the Dungeon Man Stroll song.
Yep.
Those are like the biggest ones that I know. But no. Frankie's. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I do remember a scene with a popular female singer that I believe that was a direct rip, but I'm trying to remember. Any bells ringing over this?
Yes, so I know what you're talking about. The only problem is a lot of people say she looks like Taylor Swift. Here's the thing: it was 1995. Taylor Swift.
Oh no, it's definitely not Taylor Swift.
No.
So yeah, I don't know of any that it references, but to my knowledge. But so actually, before you go move on to other references, also with the Beatles, inside Dungeon Man, there's in fact a yellow submarine.
Yes, I know. There's the yellow submarine and the quiz guy. And where's the quiz guy? Anyway, he like makes a reference to the Beatles. He's like, all right, what's the name of the song? And it has like XXX today, and it's obviously yesterday.
Yesterday. Yep.
But I mean, he literally asks what's the name of the song. But the other ones that I know for a fact, the Battle Against a Weak Opponent song sounds like dun 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 dun.
Yep.
Tequila. Frankie's theme, the intro is like Johnny Be Good by
Chuck Berry. Yep.
Absolutely.
Did I miss so much?
I'm obsessed with music and art and games, so I just like, I make sure that I am well aware of this stuff. The other one that is very much making fun of Americans, we've got daggum Star Spangled Banner played like super drunk and out of tune in the bars. I think like Jackie's Cafe and
it's not the bar, it's in the cafe.
Boris Cocktail is the name of the song in Moonside. But it's literally, if you listen to it slowed down, it's it's bad.
Totally. Also referenced in there too is Monty Python theme song.
Yes.
Little Rascals theme is in there.
Yes.
As well as songs by Rick Ocasek, The Who, Beach Boys. There's also all those references there as well.
Skyrunner that we now call Skywalker.
Oh. Good to know. Good to know.
Yep, totally. All right. So next question then. In the arcade, in the very first town of Onett, there are 2 very clear arcade machines that have very familiar things on the screen. What 2 games are they referencing?
Pick her. Just pick her.
Donkey Kong and Space Invaders?
You got it.
Yes.
Yeah, they're very... Yes, they're very low bit resolution. You can clearly see it's like the original Donkey Kong stages with the girders and the beams and like that, and then a clear Space Invaders thing is going back and forth, shooting up at like the pyramid of enemies coming down. So,
oh man, I'm really being put in my place here with my one runtime through.
Well, it's one of your least favorite games, so
yeah, you keep saying that. What? I'm saying that I did not enjoy it as much as you guys did, certainly. But how many times did you play through it, Carol?
Probably 3 times now. I like Easter eggs and stuff, so any tie-ins and like Nintendo Easter eggs especially is just something that I'm kind of crazy about. But anyway.
All right.
Yeah,
so
I'm not proud of it. I think after about 10 hours in, I shot right through it. So, but I think I still got it. I can get it back in the game. Come on.
There you go. All right.
Hit me.
So we're going to give a couple facts, no questions here for this portion. In the Dusty Dunes desert, though, there's a little Easter egg. So this is a tough one. So you're in a sand, you're in a desert. It's a very wide open level of this game where there's not a whole lot going on. You can kind of walk from one end to the other, and it takes a good minute or two. There is 2 pixels, a white one and a black one, that you find randomly in different parts of the desert. Talking to them, yep, you can talk to pixels, reveals that they're in fact talking sesame seeds that wish to be together. They have a little romance, little sesame seed romance. They serve no other purpose in the game other than being really, really hard to find. You kind of find them by accident. You walk into them and get stuck.
And Ness does nothing to bring them together or anything, which is so infuriating. It's like, have a little mini quest here, but whatever.
Talk about a love story that is worse than Twilight. Jeez, it just never fixates itself. It's kind of disappointing. Oh man,
I found the black one. I never found the white one on my first playthrough, but I saw the black one, and I was like, "Is this a dead pixel in the game?"
It's very hard to find in the desert, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, because it's all just yellow, white, black specks out there. So to go back to Itoy, the creator, he wrote every single line in Mother 2, except for Moonside, because that had to be really localized in there. To give the characters a unique personality. So it came from one person. It wasn't like a team of writers and like, well, Ness wouldn't say this, Ness would say this. It was all him. And there's a lot of dialogue from this game. I'm sure you know, Tyler, from what you play.
Yes,
there's a lot of talking. Here's the crazier part. At the time of Earthbound's development, now this game took 5 years to develop, so it was a really long cycle. Numerous times he thought the game was going to be doomed and it just was never going to be completed. He didn't know how to use a computer. He actually spoke each line of dialogue to somebody else
who typed it in for him.
Typed it out. And he used their reactions as he was saying the lines to gauge whether or not it was a good line. He would kind of rewrite on the spot if the person didn't catch the joke.
Stylish.
Insane. You would never hear from that. Nowadays, forget it. Developers would never, ever do that.
Which it also makes me appreciate Mother 2 more, and I kind of like the idea of fan translations because a lot of that translation was lost when it was localized in English.
Totally.
So there's puns that we probably have no idea about that is a thing in Japan, but asterisk on the side. It's like watching anime with subtitles.
Oh yeah, totally different. Now, in Japan, we know piracy is a huge thing and a major concern of Nintendo. Even back then, they were very, very concerned about stuff like that. So this game also featured, very strangely, 5 different types of anti-piracy failsafes in the game.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. So first, it would make sure the cartridge isn't being used in a PAL console right off the bat. That's kind of your basic one. It'd be like, this game is not recognized. That's pretty common in most games, especially during that time. Second, it performs 2 SRAM checks at startup. So check twice to make sure, is this hardware legit? Is this real hardware? So third, this is weird. If the first 2 measures, for some reason, don't work or are disabled, the enemies are on screen are being ramped up to a difficulty level that is impossible for you to beat the game. So the game literally knows you're cheating and was like, here's some unbeatable characters. Good luck, sucker.
Wow. I didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, there's another SRAM checker that's called up 6 other times throughout the game.
Nice. Anyways, oh man, anti-piracy though. How about that, huh?
Yeah. He's probably gonna have to
On a side note, we just lost Kevin. He got sucked up into a Gigas spaceship and shot off into space.
For anybody watching, at first I was like, please tell me my internet didn't cut out. Please.
Oh no. I'm trying to think about how about some other localization things? Like you remember the Runaway 5?
Yes, and there were 6 of them. So I have no idea why they called them the Runaway 5.
It didn't make any sense, but at the same time, apparently in Japan it was called the Tanzura brothers.
Yes.
Because apparently that was a legitimate group that was in Japan, but no one would know that when it got the story behind that.
The Tanzura brothers were I don't think that there was any sort of Japanese counterpart, but the reason that they changed them, they were all wearing black in the original. So they were all in black suits, but they changed the colors of their clothes when they localized it because they didn't want it to resemble the Blues Brothers, which were a 6-man, correct me if I'm wrong, 6-man group that were all black and literally basically looked the same thing. But I never understood why it was called the Runaway 5 when there are clearly 6 of them on the stage.
That's a very good question, especially since, once you pay off their debts, I think twice at least, then it's like the runaway 8 or 9 at that point.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, like, it just makes more sense to call them the brothers, but yeah, whatever.
Now, Kara, when's the last time you beaten this game?
2012, maybe?
I think I'd say 20 years ago. I was like, I thought you said... I was gonna say this.
No. Probably in 2012. I remember playing it in college, and I graduated in 2012, so it was around that time.
Another thing that you did point out was Pokey versus Porky. You're very right. I was reading off the thing, but I do remember, like, for example, I was playing the Nintendo Wii Super Smash Brothers Porky, as a little mini boss.
Right.
Because he had pig-like tendencies.
For whatever reason, they localized him as Pokey instead of Porky. Now, whether that's a mistranslation or they just were like, why would we name this kid like a pig? And Porky the Pig was obviously a character from Warner Brothers and Looney Tunes, so maybe they just didn't want to have some sort of similarity there. I mean, they basically pulled out all the stops when it came to making sure that there were no trademark issues.
Right. Now, I'm trying to think. There is plenty of unique and special moments that you play in the game. Like, for me, for example, it would probably be visiting Saturn for the first time. That was like, I saw Saturns before, once again, in Super Smash Brothers, and then seeing them for the first time and their unique text just threw me off. What is the moment for you where you were playing Earthbound and you just like, what the heck is going on?
Probably, honestly, from the very beginning, when you're like going around and the first boss of the game is Frankie, and you're just like, okay.
Yeah, some suspicious old grandpa in the back of an arcade.
Yeah, it was just kind of like, this is not a normal kind of game that I'm used to. I mean, it was like I said, the first time I played it was probably when I was in high school, and I was sort of understanding more about, games that made fun of genres or music and movies that made fun of the genre.
And holy crap, is Earthbound one of them? It is definitely a parody game.
And that's why I appreciate Undertale so much. Now, Undertale, for people that don't know,
spiritual brother or sibling.
Yeah, it is. Toby Fox completely had Earthbound and Mother series in mind when he made that game, and it is hilarious. I find Earthbound and the Mother series more of like a comedic series more than anything. I don't know if Kevin will probably argue with me on that one, because there are some like good moments and stuff. If you play through it on like classic mode instead of casual, where people actually die, then it can be a little bit more, problematic in places. But I always am just like, I don't want to have anybody die on me for real.
I feel you. Now, how about the ultimate weapons? Do you ever go for those?
No, and you know what? I'm like 100%er most of the time, but I've just never brought myself to do that in this particular RPG.
Oh man, just like I'm not sure how it is compared to other games. Like, I played Final Fantasy games, but in Earthbound, I believe it's like a 1 in 1,000 chance to get an ultimate weapon from a certain boss monster or just a regular monster.
Yeah, it's drop rate's nuts.
And it's crazy, just the idea of having to sit there for 1,000 times, because it warns you very strictly. Well, you don't know this until later, not to max out your character at the very end, because things can get drastically different for you.
Right. But, and as somebody who is extremely frustrated right now playing Xenoblade 2, trying to open all of the core crystals and get every single rare blade, I can tell you the odds suck, especially when they're RNG. So that's part of the reason that I never actually went for ultimate weapons.
Now, Kevin, what do you think about getting ultimate weapons? Fun or not? Is it worth it?
No. I found it's never worth it. Yeah, sure, they're OP, but it's never worth the struggle, I don't think.
You put 20 hours alone into farming them,
Yeah, it's nice, but going to a specific location, hunting for an ultimate weapon and hoping it drops, just waiting for after the experience, after seeing the character level up, am I going to get the item? No. Okay, I'm going to have to stay here for another freaking forever. It's ridiculous.
It is.
Yeah. That's enough griping on me on ultimate weapons. What do you got, Kevin?
All right, so sorry about that technical difficulties there.
It's okay, buddy.
So the last anti-piracy thing, don't get back to that, just to be fun here. During the final fight, when Pokey or Porky, depending how you want to look at it, turns off the devil's machine. If you have a pirated version, the game will erase all of your save data, freeze, and make you start all over again.
Oh my gosh. That's this game that does that?
Yep.
So, question.
Yep.
Is that what happened in Miyamoto? Because there is fun fact that it was the only RPG that Miyamoto has actually...
Not only, it's the first RPG he ever beat.
First, excuse me.
Oh, wow.
First RPG he beat from start to finish without like a debug or anything.
Yep.
But he had to restart after he lost his save file.
I would imagine probably not, considering Nintendo put this
probably
out on
had
the console.
I'm
pretty sure he had a copy, but you know, you stole one of my trivia questions. That actually was an ask.
Sorry.
No, darn.
No, it's totally great. It's totally a great story though. But yeah, he did lose the save, but he went back and played it again, and yeah, that was the first RPG he ever beat. So it was funny. And Mr. Atoy backed that up too to verify that was in fact true. So,
Sweet.
All right, so I'm gonna skip a few here because we're kind of going a little bit long, but this is a fun one here. So Tyler,
what's up?
Since we're not really keeping score, we'll just say if you get this question right, you just win and Caroline loses.
That's terrible. That's unfair.
I think it's totally fair.
It's going to be so hard that I'm not going to even understand what it is.
Probably not.
Oh,
so,
gosh.
Who voices Ness in Smash Brothers?
Oh God.
Now, can I ask like some bare bone things? Because I don't know. Is this a person that would recognize in other media films?
No.
Okay, you froze for a second. I'm like, oh no,
oh,
this is going to be
yeah,
a very long question. So how am I supposed to know who screams PK fire?
I mean, why wouldn't you?
Oh gosh. Okay, fine. I lose the game. Good job, Carol. Let me throw some confetti towards you.
Think about it for a sec.
Yes,
Sure.
and then I'll guess.
I think it's Danny DeVito.
That's Detective Pikachu.
I wish, man.
No, that's Ryan Reynolds.
Yep.
You want to guess?
Yeah, is it Itoy? Because he used to be involved in film and media. I thought he was like a celeb before he came to the table.
Oh, yes, which is why he had no. No, it is. So the guy who was the creator of Smash Brothers.
Oh, Sakurai.
His wife.
Ah.
So Ness is a girl. Ness is a girl.
I was like 5%
Most little
in the right
boys
direction.
are voiced by females.
That's true. No, that's 100% true. So that's fair enough. So
yeah, when you said there was no one, I was thinking like Mortal Kombat, where everybody was dressed up as the designers and the developers.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, it was somebody in the development team. But you're right. Sakurai's wife. Huh.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
All right, so we've talked plenty about the development history of this game and some fun facts, a lot of stuff that you may or may not have known. So we hope you enjoyed that. But let's get to the nitty gritty now. Let's talk about the present day image of this game, how people see it. More importantly, I want to hear what you two think about it, because we all know I love it. So I want to hear specifically what your likes, dislikes, gripes are, so that I can tell you you're promptly wrong, and we'll move on to the last part of the show. So Tyler, you go first.
I think Earthbound is an excellent game and a top-notch platformer and RPG with a good quirk and I am messing with you, Kevin. Yeah, A+ with an asterisk on the side. I put in 30 or so hours into Earthbound, as that is a very long game. It takes a lot of time dedicated to grinding and playing. And that's not to say that it's mostly dedicated to grinding, which sometimes it is, unfortunately. But I really do think that this game is so complicated in a way that it was trying to look sophisticated that it was an immediate turnoff for me.
Okay.
The problem was, though, the comedy resonated to me in such a dark and devastating way that this is my humor from high school.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like me from high school, first off. So when it was like replicating that into 2017, now 2018, a version of me is like, oh my gosh, I would laugh at this 8 or so years ago, but this is pre-Simpsons level material here. You're killing me. And
sure,
with that combined with the the battle system really messed with me. For the most part, I really like just to auto through them, but obviously you can't do that during bosses because they will wreck your crap. And I think the story was pretty good. Unfortunately, I also felt like it was kind of peppered in between long and dreary moments. And a lot of times you could fix that by instead of grinding, shooting through, and just taking whatever you can head on. But I usually got messed up by going ham and just going straight to the next story plot point that I realized I need to grind even more to be good.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some bosses had strategies I could actually follow, which I did not. I wanted to force my way through it, try to plow through it. Like I said, after the 10-hour mark, I just wanted this, screw this. I just want to complete this game and call it good.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say I did not enjoy it, but I felt like there were so many flaws in my personal eyes that it just seemed like, overall, it felt like I do respect the game Undertale because it felt like it did what Earthbound could not, was capture my attention to some extent.
Sure.
And I feel like maybe if I played it through it again and I knew what to expect and then appreciate the humor, like expect the battle system, expect the dialogue and the menu options and the interface and how to deal with that, because having to use an item on a certain character, not knowing if it worked or not, was frightening without a walkthrough, because going through a lot of the stuff could dedicate a lot of time.
That's true.
There was so many times where I got an item, it's like, I don't know what this is for. And I'd look it up and like, oh, I got to go to the certain town, to the second floor of the hospital and talk with this guy and give him this thing. And he'll give me a random item.
Pop quiz.
The pencil eraser wasn't obvious?
No, pop quiz. I was just about to mention the eraser. Pop quiz.
Geez.
What's the eraser for?
It erases the eraser. The stone eraser.
I was gonna say, isn't there like a stone statue of an eraser or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's what I was going for.
I mean, I'm piggybacking Kevin there, but at least I was right by extension.
Yeah.
Pop quiz.
Oh, okay.
What is it in the Japanese version Mother 2 instead of Earthbound?
Ooh. Oh, I know this too.
You know it, Kevin. Use the Force. I believe in you.
All right, either of y'all can answer.
Okay,
I don't remember.
Shoot me the question one more time. I'm going to give my best spitball answer.
What statue was it instead of a pencil, and what was the statue instead of an eraser in Mother 2?
Was it, I'm thinking Japanese culture, was it a phallus?
No, I know.
Okay, thank goodness.
Go, Kevin.
Oh, Kevin knows. You can do it.
I believe it was octopi.
It was an octopus for the pencil, but what was the eraser?
Ooh. Was it a squid?
No, that would have been fun. That would have been really good Splatoon future looking forward. No, the eraser was what's called a Kakeshi doll in Japanese.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
I should have gotten that one.
Yeah.
And this is just kind of something that was lost on the American or the English audience when it was brought over, is because Kakeshi and eraser in Japanese is keshi. So to get rid of the Kakeshi, it's Kakeshi keshi.
So that's why they got the joke eraser, because it's the same word almost.
Right.
That makes sense. That's right. I forgot. I knew it was some sort of doll thing. I just didn't know what it was called, but
a Kakeshi doll. Anyway, my opinion of the game as it stands currently is this game has sort of just become like a cult classic, and I got on the bandwagon when it was coming up as a cult classic type thing. I think it was starting to come when I started getting into it was around the time that people really started complaining that Mother 3 had not been localized. And that was like in the mid 2000s or something. They were just like giving up hope. Without this game, we would not have Undertale, which is a game that I absolutely love. Undertale, like I was saying earlier, was basically built off of Earthbound and Mother, and Toby Fox is just completely said, that this was originally an Earthbound fan game that he changed it off to. So while Earthbound and Mother is not like my favorite Nintendo series and IP, I definitely think that it's probably one of the best and not as highly appreciated as it should be. I think Itoi is like genius, and we're just kind of like not on his level. So like all of the stuff that he produces and the jokes that he makes is just stuff that we it's a cultural thing too that we just kind of can't appreciate fully because we're not in the Japanese culture. But I view it as like a very good game that has gotten a cult following that's pretty standard to this day. Like, I mean, there's fan games, there's Mother 4,
Yep.
And people are still begging and pleading for Mother 3 to be released.
Yes, they are. Some crazy diehards out there. They really like it, and, you know,
Yeah.
I can respect that.
No,
You know,
Lucas.
oh boy, that old scaredy cat.
Oh,
The
would-
Luigi of Earthbound.
I would love if they would pick up. I know that Itoi said that it's a 3 thing. It's a 3-game thing, and that there would be no 4th game. But like Mother 4, I actually downloaded and played a little bit of it. It's a fan game. It's not a bad game. You know, Travis is pretty much a carbon copy of Lucas, in my opinion. But
What? No, certainly not. They don't have similar features and dull personalities. That what do I know, huh? Right?
Well, I mean, look at Nintendo. They're famous for heroes with dull personalities.
I mean,
Link, who
Link
has no
doesn't even
personality.
speak.
So I mean, even Mario in Mario Odyssey, like it was no personality. The Cappy had all the personality. So
This is true.
it's a Nintendo. It's a Japanese thing. I don't know what it is, but
I don't know. I think Mario showed like a half an ounce of anger at one point. Like, I have feelings. You have Peach.
Yeah.
Urgh.
I want to marry her. No, I want to marry her. Maybe Peach is an independent single woman.
I know,
Don't
right?
need
She
no
don't need
man.
no Italian man or
Yeah.
reptilian creature.
Yeah.
Spoilers. Jeez, come on.
Although we still don't know where the Koopalings came from, so just saying.
Oh, gee. Oh boy. Oh boy.
Anyway, we're
Super
way
Mario
off topic
touch on
here.
this one.
So surprisingly, I'm not going to defend the game to Tyler because I can totally get everything he's saying. And I think for me, my love is because you got to remember, guys, at the time when this game came out, and that's when I played it, our RPGs was like Dragon Quest or the old Final Fantasies. They didn't have much. And it was the same thing, like, oh, thou art going to the village and save the princess from the dragon and use a fire spell and black mage and everything. This was totally different. Like,
Right.
this was an RPG with similar elements for sure. But it was
Now,
a different experience.
hot question for you, Kevin. How
Yeah.
old were you when this game came out?
I would have been fresh, well, getting ready to go to freshman year of high school. So what, 13?
Okay.
14? 14?
14.
Yeah.
I always said that the games that you'll defend to the end,
Yes.
just because of pure nostalgia, it usually is between the age of 12 and 14. Now you're a little bit later into that. For for me, Ocarina of Time and Final Fantasy VII,
Totally.
definitely they did not age well one bit. During the time that I played it, it was the best thing ever.
Oh, yeah.
So I can see it where Earthbound at your age, if you played it now, which you probably did, you probably still enjoyed the nostalgia and used it.
It's the nostalgia. 100%. Yep.
The crease over, the bumpy edges, that is, Earthbound's, the whole thing.
Yeah.
I can totally respect that. Honestly, I kind of wish I did play it back as a child, so I had the same thoughts as you. Because I feel like if I was 12 to 14, this would be the cat's meow. Like I said, this had my high school humor. So being a middle schooler at the time, I'd be like, yeah, this is cool.
Right.
Yeah, I got it called poo.
Right. It's true. I mean, you look at it. So like, yeah, RPGs have come obviously so far since then. But at the time, this was cutting edge. This did things that RPGs hadn't done yet. So to me, I'm like, this was Final Fantasy VII. Like, oh my God, there's, we do this and that. So this was the equivalent of that. And you're right. It hit me then. If I didn't play it until, I don't know, college or something, wouldn't resonate because I had played other RPGs at that point that were superior in those regards. But I just love the old school thing. And I still, and a lot of gamers agree with this. I think you guys will both agree here too. 16-bit era games have aged so much better than 64.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's like you have that same nostalgia, you'll have that same love, but you can go back and still play Earthbound, as flawed as it may be, a lot easier than I could going back and playing the Nintendo 64 version of Ocarina of Time, which I love, but I will never play that version again. My God,
I can't blame you. It's crazy,
right? It's the same type of thing. So I agree with you 100%. I'm not going to nitpick there at all. I totally get your point of view completely. So part 2 is over. Let's move on to part 3. The future, if we think there is one,
is now.
of Earth. Well, it is now. Well, no,
It was now.
present.
Now it's the past. Crap.
But we're past now.
We're past it now. Jeez.
Yeah.
Far flung future.
Yeah. Anyway,
Like a month.
So I'll go first, and Caroline touched on it a little bit too about, it's always said in 2005 he said he's never making another Mother game, Earthbound game, whatever the case is, and I can respect that. Would I love for somebody else to take the reins and keep running with it? Sure, because I think there's a lot of people that could do the same thing in the same vein, because I don't want an Earthbound that's different. I want more of the same Earthbound. But honestly, I would be completely happy and satisfactory if they just give me Mother 2, aka Mother 3, Earthbound 2, whatever you want to call it, because you cannot play it in its true form in the US at all. So it was only released on Game Boy Advance in Japan. I just want to play that story. I'm okay with never having a Mother 4 or whatever the case is. I just want that story. It already exists, guys. Just translate it. They have the translation. It's been done, reportedly.
Yeah, and band translations, it's nice. It's really nice.
Yes,
you can go down that road if you want to.
And the person who I forget what the name of it was, but the person who created the most famous fan translation of it was actually brought in by Nintendo at one point.
Oh wow!
To meet with them. So everyone was like, well, they're going to be using his translation and maybe tweaking a little bit, but that never saw the light of day if it even exists. So people clamor for it. They still want it. They love it. That's all I want. If they never make another one, I'm fine. But you have Lucas, who was in Smash Brothers. Nobody in US can play as him in anything. At least with Ness, you may not have known who Ness was in Smash Brothers, but you could have played something and found out who it was. Mm-hmm. Lucas, you cannot do. And that's all I want. So that's my future. I don't care if they don't do any other ones. Give me that one. Port it on the Switch. Put it on the Switch. Be a virtual console game. I don't care. I will love it. I will play it, and I'll be happy, because until I've completely given up hope, I refuse to play the fan translated ROM version of Mother 2, Mother 3. I want to play it legit before I have no other option.
So
if it goes another company, never play. I've resisted that urge, Caroline. And me being a huge Earthbound fan, that's the hardest thing to sit there and say, I can totally play it right now if I wanted to. Mm-hmm. I am holding off to see what the true, real version will be if it ever comes out. But I'm telling you, there's been a few times, especially this past year, I've been real close to just doing it. And who knows? But I'm still fighting the good fight and hoping it doesn't come out. Caroline, what do you think? Is there a future in Earthbound? What would it be? What would you want to do? What would you want to see?
Well, you already took what I was going to say about it. It's if they're going to release it, the Switch Virtual Console, which has still not come out, by the way, is like optimal prime real estate for them to put this thing out.
Did you say Optimus Prime?
Optimal.
Oh.
Come on, Kevin, get your head in the game.
I mean, everybody knows that the Americans want it, or just, we want in a, was it released in PAL region? No.
The what now?
PAL region.
No.
PAL.
Just Japan.
Oh, PAL. Okay.
Yeah.
I was trying to think it in my head. I was like,
okay. I just didn't know if it had been brought to Europe at least. That's the only way that I see that it, like, hey, we want to throw a bone to the Earthbound and the Mother fans. Here you go. Finally, it's been, when did that game come out? 2002, 3?
The Mother 3?
Yeah.
2001 or 2, I believe.
Okay. 20 years almost.
I'll take your word on it.
20 years.
Oh, wow.
15 right now. More than that. We're in 2018 now. I keep forgetting. But I think that any sort of future, the only thing that's going to happen is we'll get a Mother 3 release in America. I don't think there's going to be any other games, because I think it's just, it's like a perfect trilogy type thing. And they don't want to beat a dead horse. That's the only thing I can say.
Fair enough.
They might. What if they brought Nenten as a character in Smash Bros?
That would be funny.
Only
if he's like 8-bit though.
It's so weird that they call that the first Earthbound protagonist Nenten. Like,
so weird.
That's the joke, right? Nintendo and all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's why
personally. God, you're saying?
Ness is
oh.
Do you get it?
It's like they're suggesting that it should be pronounced Ness and SNES. Oh, jeez.
Don't make Kevin mad.
Yeah, Kevin's.
But then we've got freaking Lucas. It's like, oh, we broke the chain. Darn.
Luke's Ness. I don't know. Me personally, I'm happy with where Earthbound it is as it is right now, but obviously that's because I was not a very core supporter of the whole series. However, if, for example, for the 3DS or more preferably the Switch, if they had, like, for example, a side story that kind of correlated Ness and Lucas and the team to all come together and do something like I said, a good side story, I'd be down for that, because a lot of people would see Mother or Earthbound, the name, and they'd be simply curious. So it would be very nice to see something like that, just a little something. Like I'm afraid I say that and I get something like the was it that latest Pikmin that came out for the 3DS, something like that. I was like, oh god, that's not what I asked for. Please, no.
Yep. Yeah, I'm with you. That last Pikmin was rough, and I'm a Pikmin fan too. So that was another one I got scorned on. Chibi Robo, then Pikmin. Like, don't do it to Earthbound. Give me the game I want, or don't give me anything.
I feel like if they did, no, this is crazy. I'm going to go into the crazy idea here. You ready for this?
No.
I know, certainly not, especially after my whole Safari Zone Pokemon Snap idea. What happens if they did Earthbound in a very lazy comedic fashion of Persona? Where they did everything where, you talk to people, they popped up, they had to do certain adventures. Because if you think about it, Persona, they do have to go over to certain locations to collect stuff, beat an area, beat the boss. It's a very loose tie to Earthbound, mind you, but it could really work. You could build relations and all that stuff. Oh, it's just me spitballing off the cuff here.
That would be cool. It'd be very, very different from Earthbound. Definitely. I wouldn't have a problem with that. I would still play that because it's a different take, but it's not so different that I'm like, this could never be Earthbound. It's still the core elements can be there in a different way to digest it. That's fine. But
if Earthbound came out today, do you think it would still need to be 2D, or do you think they would have to try something drastic and new?
Nowadays, they can still be 2D because there's so many retro stuff out there now that
it could be.
Get away with it.
I just feel like Nintendo being Nintendo, I haven't seen them stick to anything that is, pixelated 2D. The last thing I've seen that as an example would be Link Between the Worlds, which, did very, great and wonderful, but I just feel like it was a far toss from what they could have done. And
so we didn't really get into this much because we don't want to talk about the development of the other games, but Mother 3 was originally started on N64 as a 3-dimensional game. And after they got they got a good way into development too. Like, I saw pages in Nintendo Power that featured the game and showed what it would look like. I mean, they were pretty well along, and they threw it all out to change it back to 2-dimensional, have a whole new story, and put it on the Game Boy Advance. So it looked like they tried it, and they just weren't happy with where it was going, what it looked like, how it felt. I guess it just didn't have the same heart.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, it would be easy enough for them to do it. Excuse me. Jeez, where am I going with this? A nice, simple port of Earthbound over to the Switch, which, just imagine playing that handheld. Don't get me wrong. I would, talk crap about the interface and all that stuff, 2 times over again, but I'd still appreciate it because, it looked pretty cool. Especially after playing a game like Blossom Tales.
And Tyler's like, I won't like it. I still won't like the game, but I'll buy it again and I'll play the crap out of it.
Yeah.
I'll appreciate it because, it was a good game with many flaws, but I feel like I would enjoy it more on my Switch than my, computer. No offense. I didn't buy the cartridge and, do that.
So another fun fact, not really fun fact, but true story. So I've owned the game physically and on the SNES version 3 times.
Yeah.
And every time
I knew that, but
every time I resold it, oh my god, I got more than $100 for the game. I think the highest one was like $160.
Why would
you do that?
Nuts. And now, this is before Virtual Console, so the only way you can get it is either via ROM or buying the cartridge. And because it didn't do so well in the US, there wasn't a ton of those cartridges, man. But yeah, it was crazy.
It's over $200 right now, and it's on my wish list to get.
Holy smokes!
Yeah.
Get those scratch and sniff cards though.
No, but you know what? I can only find the non-complete version, like just the cart.
Yep.
And I don't want to buy one of those repro carts.
No.
They've got those floating around on eBay for
because it was so
50,
hard to
60
find
bucks.
Yeah, it was so hard to find the game that people were making bootleg copies of it and making it look like it was legit. So that was a huge problem for them.
Yeah.
But
the reason I haven't bitten the bullet yet and actually bought the thing is because all of the labels, I'm such a stickler for my things. You know, the labels have been scratched off or rubbed off or you know, somebody's written on them in Sharpie and yeah.
All right. So before we start wrapping up, because we're running a little bit long on time here.
Oh yeah, getting long in the tooth here. Jeez.
Real short, Caroline, would you recommend this to a person who has not played it yet?
I would recommend this to people who enjoy RPG games. If you're not into the RPG genre, I don't recommend this game because it takes the RPG genre and runs with it. Same with Undertale. So yeah, that's just my thing in a nutshell. But I, as an RPG fan, absolutely love it. I think it's great.
That works. Tyler, same question.
I think you already know my answer, but I'm gonna mess with you. I'm gonna say yes. I would recommend to somebody who is in the similar mindset to where they've never heard or played Earthbound before and they need to know what it is. Whether or not they should beat it is entirely to their discretion. But I would also recommend copious amounts of illicit drugs or alcohol to go with it. But honestly, it's a good game. But I feel like there's better ways to embrace the legacy that is Earthbound.
Sure, that's fair. And then so my input, I would say I'd recommend it. Same thing as Caroline for anybody who's into JRPGs. That's the way to go. Old school JRPGs. If you haven't played it, pick it up. But if you're into only modern day RPGs, like Witcher or Persona, stuff like that, probably not for you. But yes, it is called classic. So if you like the retro stuff, go for it. Otherwise, just watch a Let's Play or Games Done Quick or something of Earthbound and get the gist of it.
Chugga Conroy's is really good, by the way.
You say
I highly recommend it.
Chugga Conroy. Now, Game Grumps had a very good one, but they kind of cut halfway through. Not that I would know that, certainly not.
I'd watch Game Grumps for comedic relief, but like if you want a good, solid playthrough, Chugga Conroy is your dude.
Definitely.
All right, so we're coming to the end, folks. Class is almost out of session. So real quick, Caroline, where can people find you if they want to link up with you?
If you want to find me, I'm on Twitter at the Nintendame, like Nintendo and Dame, because I'm a girl. But I'm very rarely in the Discord. I show up every once in a while when I'm not crying over the fact that my Georgia Bulldogs lost the national championship, and it takes me a week and a half to get back to reality.
Fair enough. Tyler, where can people find you, good sir?
Oh man, if you want to check me out on Twitter, I am at 2xTyler. That's all in words, baby. And that's pretty much it. Unless you want to check me out on here when I once I get back in the game, we can do youtube.com/play some video games.
Absolutely. So yeah, as Caroline said, hop in the Discord, come chat with us, playsomevideogames.com. You can find all the information to log into that. We're constantly talking all day, every day, pretty much about all sorts of topics. So come and join us. If you want to follow me on Twitter at PSVG Kevin. So before we leave, it's Tyler's turn next to pick the game that we'll be talking about, dishing about, if you will, next month. So Tyler, putting you on the spot, what is the next lesson?
Now, you threw this to me like about 2/3 of the way into the freaking chat and all that stuff.
That's how I do it. Pop quiz.
Got nervous. I was like, let's do RuneScape. And you're like, no. I was like, okay, fine. So I thought about it. We are doing some crazy stuff that's really heavy into Nintendo. I want to branch out into a different platform. I think it's time to aim towards something that's heavy hitter in a different region. And I think we already talked about it. Another region. We're going to be going over to the Green Hills, baby. Green Hills Zone. We're going to be playing for the Sega Genesis. We're going to be playing Sonic the Hedgehog. We're going to be talking about it, baby. We can talk about it.
I like that one. Great choice. That's a good choice. We have been Nintendo heavy so far. Yep,
are we going the original, or are we just going the Genesis 3?
We're going to start Green Hills Zone 1, baby. We're going to start it.
Okay.
Start from the beginning. We can talk about the series too. Don't mind. We can totally talk about the series.
I'm sure we will. We diverge all the time anyway. So.
Oh yeah.
All right, everyone. That wraps up today's lesson. I'm Kevin, and for Tyler and Caroline, you've just been schooled. Tune in next month for more Arcadia Academia.